Thank you, everybody, for tuning in for another Amicable Divorce Discussion. These videos feature one of our members of the Amicable Divorce Network and is a snippet of information to help you through the divorce process. I am so happy today to be joined by Amy Carter. She is an attorney here in Georgia and also a mediator. And she has been a member of our group for several years, and I've been so excited recently that I've gotten to do several Amicable Divorce Network cases with her, and she's jumping in to do a video for us here today. The topic of her video is something that everybody should listen to, whether you are going through a divorce or you are a professional who helps people through the divorce process, and it is what you should and shouldn't do in the divorce process, the do's and don'ts of divorce. Thank you, Amy. Why don't you introduce yourself to everybody and give them a little bit more detail than I did about yourself?
Thanks, Tracy. So my name's Amy Carter. I am an attorney here in Georgia, where Tracy Ann is, and I work with a firm called Bank Stubbs McFarland. I am a partner there. I've been an attorney for 20 years, and since 2009 have been doing mostly family law cases. I do a tiny bit of criminal cases, but they're few and far between. I have 4 kids. I've been through the divorce process, was married 21 years. And went through the divorce process. So I know it very intimately, both as a participant and an attorney. So
I was trying to think this morning, knowing that we were recording this, I was like, when did I first meet Amy? And we've been practicing just about the same amount of time. And so, I mean, I can't even remember meeting Amy. So I've known her for many, many years. And now we get to work on these amicable cases together. But she's come up with a great topic, which is what the do's and don'ts of divorce. So Amy, do you want to jump in with some of your advice?
Yeah, honestly, this is a topic that you think is just common sense. But honestly, as the years have gone by and as social media has gone crazy, it's a topic that we have to discuss with our clients because you cannot believe the crazy stuff that comes up in these cases. And it's our litigation cases and our amicable cases. The way we approach them is a little different in the amicable cases, but still a conversation to be had. So I think the first one, and it's something that Tracy and I were just talking about, is do not send nudes to your ex. It's not going to entice them to come back. It's just going to like pour some fuel on the fire.
We end up looking at the nudes. So
yeah, don't join dating sites until we're done. We still share credit card statements. And although I'm not looking at these credit card statements to try to cross-examine someone when I'm doing these amicable cases, it still looks really bad if you're joining, dating sites before this is done. If you're buying lingerie for God knows who before this case is done. So just think about the way that you're spending in terms of how it's going to be judged by the other side, not necessarily them asking for reimbursement for it. We're still trying to, resolve your case in an amicable fashion, and seeing that you're on Tinder before, even left the marital residence is not a good start.
So let me touch on that for just a second, because I did a TikTok video and it was on that topic. And it basically was like, please do not date until your divorce is final. And people, that is my most popular video on TikTok. And people went crazy in the comments arguing with me that it isn't illegal, or it's post-separation. They want to move on. And my point, and I think you have the same point, is that it isn't that it's illegal. It isn't that, you're going to get in trouble for it in some way necessarily. And every state law is different. But the point was that it ticks people off.
It does. I mean,
yeah, it changes our ability to resolve your case easily and efficiently, because now we have somebody who's really angry.
Right. And I mean, if you're going to do it, I mean, I understand being lonely and stuff, just, my God, do it discreetly so we don't see it on credit card bills. I would say my number one rule for most people is just stay off social media altogether. I mean, no one needs to air their dirty laundry on social media. And so on our amicable cases or our litigation cases, I mean, it just again, it's not, nothing productive comes from it. I wouldn't post crazy pictures of you going out and drinking and, you know, girls gone wild pictures. Just anything that you feel like is going to add drama to the case, keep it on DL. I would not engage in a text war with your spouse. Nothing good comes of that. You're getting a divorce for a reason, regardless whether we're doing it as an amicable divorce or a litigation divorce. So you're not going to be agreeable on your spouse's, you know, take on things. And so engaging in a text war, nothing's going to come of that. You're not going to convince your spouse that your position is right on a text war.
You already don't agree. So let's not just put it all in writing.
Right. I wouldn't badmouth your spouse in front of your children. We've had lots of videos about this topic lately. But anything about your spouse, I wouldn't talk about your spouse in front of your kids. I wouldn't tell your children that, you know, mommy wants the divorce or daddy wants the divorce, so we're getting a divorce. You're inherently telling your children at that point that their world is crumbling because this is something that mommy wants, or this is something that daddy wants. And they're automatically going to assign fault to that parent. So I would not, you need to be very cognizant of what you're telling your kids, because there are adult conversations and there are child conversations, and your kids don't need to know everything about why their life is changing. I mean, that's just the reality of it. Another thing I've started to tell people is you don't need to be, you know, filming everything going on in your house. My God, that just adds fuel to the fire. And quite frankly, regardless of what atmosphere you're in, whether you're in the amicable atmosphere or the litigation atmosphere, most of us professionals or most judges know that if you're doing this and you're filming something, you've probably instigated that reaction that you're filming.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to point out. When I was more in the litigation situation and people would have these videos and they thought that they had gotten this gold, I rarely ever use them because of the court's perception that you've set up that situation. There was something before you hit record that you did that's not on the video that caused this other person to behave this way. They didn't just start behaving this way. And so judges hate that. And they honestly would then penalize the recording party in some way, whether they're recording the kids or not. They don't like it. It's very cringy.
I agree. And it's just nothing positive comes from that. And of course, the obvious, like, you know, don't go buy a car or a house unless we've got some sort of an agreement in place. But I think the one thing that we've talked about over the past couple of months, especially in January when we were doing the kid-focused divorce stuff, was and as far as the do's go, be prepared about how you're going to talk to your kids. You know, whether it's you're going to do it together, have a plan about how you're going to do it. And, you know, be sure that it's kid content friendly in terms of how you're going to do it. I think
if you need some help on that, you can look back on our YouTube channel for the Child-Centered Divorce Month video we did. It has great resources in it, links, all kinds of things to help you frame that conversation if you're struggling with how to do that appropriately.
And one thing I'm adding to my do's that actually I just got from a video that we did earlier this week. And I don't know if that one's being posted or not, but it was from Janice, and she was talking about basically being kind through the process and even after to your spouse. Because one thing that I didn't recognize is your children inherently feel like, you know, a part of me comes from mom and a part of me comes from dad. So if one of the parties don't like the other one, they feel like, well, you don't like that part of me.
Yeah.
So I never like made that connection, and not that I'm ugly to my ex-spouse, but, you know, it really kind of resonated that, you know, kids identify with things very differently than we do. And so just regardless whether you want to be kind or not, you know, do it for the children.
Yeah.
Because you don't want them to feel like they don't like that. You don't like that part of them.
Yeah, kids very much at a younger age feel, and they're sort of understanding like how they're made and how they got into this world. And they very much think I am half mommy, I am half daddy, and you know, a traditional hetero couple. And so they very much start to identify with, I'm half French, or, whatever these things are. And they really take that to heart as they're starting to learn about themselves. And so any sort of insult to the other parent, they view as insulting, like you're exactly saying, half of them. And they really take that to heart and very hard, and think then that insulting parent doesn't like that part of them, doesn't like a whole half of the child. And that's how they internalize that.
My daughter, we did a video on TikTok about her, what advice she could give people as far as, things to do or not do. And one of the things she said was, do not have even like adult conversations in front of the kids, even if it's about something silly like a reimbursement of a prescription or whatever it is, because you never know what direction that conversation may go. And so it makes them feel uncomfortable. And so I've now started telling people, just don't have those conversations in front of the kids, even if you think it's going to be a vanilla, generic, flat conversation.
That's something you can text about.
Right, exactly. And I think the last do that I always tell people is, and some of my clients hate this, is regardless of how the other side is acting, whether they commit a don't, or they're not following, the rules of engagement, that is not your cue to follow suit, right? It's not an eye for an eye. I still like to follow the rules that we have set in place to try to, get this, to follow our goal, right? The goal is trying to get it resolved and to trying to keep kids first. So
I call it keeping your side of the street clean, no matter what they are doing, as an attorney, as a parent, as somebody, in this process, you want your client, you want yourself to be able to say, I did everything correctly. I did everything right. If they behaved badly, I didn't engage, I didn't get involved in that. I still kept my side of the street clean.
And it sucks. I mean, no one
it does. Sometimes it's
so easy. Right.
It would feel so good.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty much my, kind of go-to list of do's and don'ts.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great. I think that's good advice for everybody. I'm so glad you backed me up on the no dating thing. So anybody who's watched both, you can see it's not just me coming up with this. It is very good legal advice. So thank you very much, Amy, for doing this. And if you want to reach out to Amy and connect with her, all of her information is below this video, so you can reach out to her. And thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely.